Hey family, here we are. Let's see. Things I could tell you, but I have to kill you. Oh gosh. Yeah, 4 years ago this would have been pretty dangerous, but I think it's safe now. Well, not that. I don't know about that safe thing, but I think the risk management analysis has been conducted and I feel comfortable sharing this information, not just with regards to my own safety, but with regards to those who possess this information or are exposed to this information. We're going to tick this one off the list. This one's called Dead Man Switch. Now, if you've paid attention to if you have seen the intro series to my channel, I go into a brief detail about many things, but one of them is the 7 different times that there were attempts on my life. And I mentioned that, I have a good dead man switch. So, what's a dead man switch, Daddy? What is that? So, this is the concept. This is where it comes from. That's why we call it a dead man switch, in case you didn't know. So let's just say that you're in possession of some information which could have very negative impacts, if not deleterious results, upon the agendas of those who seek to dominate and control and maintain the status quo of slavery and suppression and whatever, right? You guys get it, right? And let's say that you, in whatever manner, whether you receive a download directly through your Corona chakra, provided you don't have any viruses in there, or if it's some information that you come up with by collaboration with somebody else, or some information that I expose you to here, and it's potentially deadly because, it presents a threat to the status quo. You get my point. Or blackmail kind of stuff, here's a good example. All the people that are in what do they call it? The body count of the Clinton family, the Bill and Hillary Clinton, just those two, right? We'll leave all the others aside, but just focusing on those because they're pretty popular about their body counts, right? The people that worked for the Clintons and had this insider information and this blackmail material obviously didn't have a very sufficient dead man switch. So the dead man switch in this case, traditionally, contemporary speaking, if you go back and look at some of the movies of the 1950s and stuff like that, it's basically a way to say, I have this information, and it could be like let's say, for instance, I have this oh my goodness, here we go, hypothetical situation, wink wink. I have this video recording of the President of the United States' son having sex with underage sex trade workers, snorting cocaine, smoking crack cocaine, injecting other drugs, whatever. Let's say I've got that video, and I go to Joe Biden and I say, hey, if you want me to keep this quiet, you better pay me. And don't think you can just kill me and destroy the evidence, because I have a dead man switch. I have placed this evidence with this person, and this person. And if something happens to me, then they are going to disclose it. So you deal with me directly, pay me what I want. Right? That's where the word dead man switch comes from. But in this case, like in my case, it's not because I'm trying to extort someone or blackmail someone, but rather it's only for the protection of my physical skin suit, not to have any more attempts on my life. So this is how I implemented my dead man switch. It was after the 7th attempt on my life, which I talked about in my intro series. And I went into the Andes Mountains on the spring equinox, a very holy day. If you're going to celebrate a holy day as opposed to a holiday, I recommend that. A spring equinox is a good time for sowing new seeds and changing patterns of the previous, the previous spring, summer, winter, and fall, or fall and winter. So now you're going to sow some new dreams and some new seeds, and you're going to decide this gets removed from the dream. I'm not bringing this from the past into the new dream. So that's the what we do at the spring equinox. So I went up into the Andes Mountains, and I had my own sort of like little, I was part of a larger ceremony for the spring equinox to go up there and have Olympia, cleaning with the herbs and splashing in the water. And this water was so beautiful and pure. It was like three-ish thousand meters. It was quite high above the clouds, very pure water. And I just said, look, to whatever force is manifesting in my reality to execute all these attempts on my life, I see that I present a threat to you. And for this, don't take it personal. But I have a job to do. I have a mission to complete here, and I shall not be dissuaded, and I shall not be taken off of the timeline before I am ready to go. And I'll be ready to go once I execute my mission. So basically, thanks for playing. Cocktails are in the back. You have been warned. My field, my game, my rules. You're no longer allowed or permitted to be in my field. Now, of course, should you happen to think that you can go against my wishes, which I have just clearly stated, and try to find some backdoor to kind of come in and do what I expressly forbid you to do, and let's just hypothetically say that you are then, in that case, successful in taking me out of the skin suit. Well, I will very simply employ another tactic, and I will take advantage of some technology that I have access to if I am taken out before I decide it's time. I will employ some things. And the first thing I would do is I would say, and I'm going to see if I'm going to try my best to find some show notes for this. There's an amazing movie, and I do not recall the name of it, but it was with regards to a freedom fighter in Libya when the French colonialists were over there, and he was kind of referred to as like he's a hero because he stood up against and refused to accept the legitimacy of a French colonial rule in Libya. And but anyway, after many decades of struggle and valiant efforts to resist these invaders and their unwelcome intrusion into his free will choice and his people's free will choice to have their own sovereign country without their French rulers over them. Well, they finally got a hold of him, and rather than fight and struggle and kick and scream as they were taking him to the gallows to be hung for his so-called crime of refusing to acknowledge the legitimacy of the French rulers, he simply said before he had the noose around his neck, and he simply said, "I am grateful to die at the hands of my enemies." And in this way, with those words, because this is really important, family, I want you to understand, because maybe, I don't know, if you're a little bit like me, you can go back and remember the so-called prior lifetimes. And the moment that is most memorable, usually of the prior lifetimes, is the moment of death, for many reasons. But I remember so many times being burned at the stake, being drawn and quartered. I remember being a Pict and a Druid. I remember being the Magi and the priest class of pre-dynastic Egypt. I remember being the shaman of the tribes of the Amazon. I mean, there were so many memories I have of being taken off of the timeline whilst I was in the middle of executing the soul contract or the mission that I came here incarnated to do. And I went into each one of those cosmic midnight hours with this concept of, oh, you fuckers, you took me out, and this emotion, because it was in many cases, even though I was a shaman or a magi or a priest class, my death was so sudden and so violent and so vicious that I didn't have the appropriate amount of time and reflection and perspective to put things in divine order before I went into my cosmic midnight hour. So I therefore entered into the cosmic midnight hour with my heart that was not as light as a feather. So with these words, I return my heart to a 0 point, so that I don't drag in any unresolved energy and motion or emotion into the field while I go through my cosmic midnight hour to make my decisions for the next incarnation and the next soul contract. So, so with these words, I am grateful to die at the hands of my enemy. So obviously, well, I mean, no one's going to be sitting there getting burned at the stake saying, I'm grateful to die. But I'm grateful to die because if I die at the hands of my enemy, that means I'm on track. When I'm catching flack, I know I'm over target. So what I then do in order to keep my dream alive and to keep my soul contract in place, I say those words before I'm executed. I am grateful to die at the hands of my enemy. And in this way, I bring it back down to 0. And then I can take advantage of some technology to reincarnate. And I don't need to go through the birth canal. I sure don't. And it's very well illustrated. This dead man switch that I employed back in, I want to say 2015, something around there. Yeah, it was the spring equinox of 2015. I just came across this movie like less than 6 months ago in 2023 or even 2024. I don't remember when I saw this movie. It was not that long ago. That literally explained that download that I received for employing my dead man switch. So in this way, when this leader of the Libyan resistance movement was martyred, he, like, it was in such an honorable way that people remembered those words that he said before he was died, and they remembered that he stayed fast and true to his principles and core values and guiding belief systems and never backed down regardless, even in the face of death. And so you see, in this way, family, no matter how many times they kill the shamans and the priests and the Picts and the Druids and the Magi and the priest class and the, whatever you want to call this, you can't kill consciousness, but that consciousness can facilitate your own obstacles, if you will, by going into your cosmic midnight hour without this phrase in place, without this portion of the dead man switch. Very important. And as soon as I acknowledged that fact, and I was quite kind of maybe a little bit more vulgar about it, I basically said, if you bitches want to take me out of this skin suit, please be my guest. But if you think one of me is difficult to deal with, try 1,000,000 or 1 billion. Because yes, that's what I can and will do. When I leave the skin suit, I go back to the source, and I immediately, without delay, without confusion, without obstruction, without tricksters, and I go back to the source, and I come back down, and with my, like, let's say it's a light, and it shatters into a billion pieces. And yes, it can come into the womb to be born as a young baby. And it can also do what's called a walk-in. But not a walk-in for my will, a walk-in for thy will, Great Spirit, a walk-in for the 7 future generations and the purpose of maintaining the natural timelines. Be very clear about that. There's very, very strict rules when we wish to employ our magic. It has to be, in an honorable way. So, go ahead and take me out, I said, and I'll be back. That's the movie they did about me. It's called The Terminator, and he said, "I'll be back." But yes, that's not science fiction. And once I said that, family, it stopped. The attempts on my life stopped. Now, I don't want to say that the IRS audits stopped and the bank account closures stopped and the turning off of my ATM cards and my debit cards and my credit cards stopped, because that carried on. But there were no more attempts on my life. So I'm sure you could come up with your own ideas, and maybe I shall do the same and employ some other dead man switches if any further economic or other infiltration into my, space continues to occur. So I just wanted to share that with you. I want to make sure that that was all the notes I had. I didn't really take any notes. I just put a note here that said Dead Man Switch, and it goes under the I Can Tell You, But I Have to Kill You playlist. So, in the event that any of the information that I disclose and what you decide to do with it, and the fact that you're in possession of it, and who you decide to collaborate with, if you decide to collaborate with, please do develop your own Dead Man Switch. I just gave you a full-blown example of the one I did. Feel free to copy, paste, borrow. There's no copyrights on that. No patents. And customize it and make it your own, unique too. That's the important thing, because it all comes down to your magic. It's not my magic that you're borrowing, or my good ideas that you're borrowing. Yeah, it's an idea or whatever, but you're borrowing it or whatever, but it's yours. Once you make it your ritual and your Dead Man Switch, it's yours. So make it is all the details that you need to fill in. But yeah, I found that to be sufficient for me to basically say I could do, birth canal. I can, especially for those souls that were walking around with their, not even looking up to see the chemtrails, not even paying attention to the most obvious things, just really stuck in their, they're going to go vote for a pedophile, and it doesn't matter if he is a pedophile because it's better than the Trump card character because he's a toxic masculine, and, those kinds of folks, what they call the NPCs, or the non-player characters, the ones that are holding us back from the natural timeline, the empty vessels. It's like a human, but there's no consciousness or awareness there. So in those cases, I make soul contracts with those soul shards to say, hey, I see in the present situation that you're in right now, it's not really working out. You're not going to anywhere get near your soul contract, what you came here to do, because you're just so fucking caught up in the matrix. So, hello, I'm here to help, and I'll just pop in and do what's called a walk-in. And you may know some people like this, or you may have heard of some people like this, but I know of several people. And who knows? You may do also. It'll be like this person that's been like this their whole life. They're a diehard, whatever, fill in the blank. They're in front of the boob tube with their bread and circuses and their favorite football teams and their voting and their, liberal Democrat. I don't give a fuck who it is as long as it's a blue ticket, as long as it's the elephant or the donkey. I don't remember which one is which. I think is it the donkey? Yeah, that would be perfect. Yes, Democrat, very stubborn. And I don't know. I really don't know the symbols, the colors, and the flags, and the whatever they use. But like she literally told me this. It was a friend of mine in Mount Shasta, and she said, I don't know I can't explain it, but I was just this person my whole life, and I was just this diehard liberal, and I just had this like complete fucking possession takeover walk-in kind of thing, and I went running up and down the streets in my bathrobe, a raving lunatic, and then I went back to my house and went to sleep, and then I woke up the next day, and here I am. I'm healing people and doing this and doing that and doing things to facilitate the natural timeline. So it works. I'm saying it works. Dead man switches work. Walk-in technology is real. Just saying, family. If you find yourself in a situation, whether I give you the information, whether I expose you to I can tell you, but I have to kill you stuff, or anybody else does, just remember that's your dead man switch, and you can make it your own. And I just gave you a basic template. So without further ado, I'll move on to the next topic. Ciao for now.